I think one of the key achievements of the I Belong campaign has been showing that statelessness is not just a legal anomaly. It's very much a human rights issue, but it's also a women and children issue. It's a youth issue. It's a minority rights issue. It's a development issue. And of course, it's a peace and security issue, as we know that statelessness is both a cause and a consequence of forced displacement. But I think where we still have some work to do is to get all mandate holders on these issues to accept this clear nexus. And I think the High Commissioner very well said earlier that this is not just a UNHCR issue, it's a UN issue. So what we need is a redoubling of efforts over the coming years by not only governments, but also the whole UN framework and regional institutions as well. But statelessness is achievable, and I know no one believes that more than the High Commissioner himself. And we're really grateful for the fact that he has so embraced statelessness initially since he took over from his predecessor. He's also a champion of civil society, as evidenced by the fact he's given up time from his valuable schedule to speak here today. So without further ado, and now that we have everyone assembled, I'd like to invite the High Commissioner to take the floor.
Thank you for all the work that you do. And good afternoon, everybody. I promise this is the last time you hear me speak today. Some of you have heard me already. But, first of all, also on behalf of Deputy High Commissioner Khalid, the new Assistant High Commissioner for Protection, Gillian Triggs, you have an opportunity to meet with her. She'll have a very big role in overseeing our statelessness work in UNHCR, so I'm glad she could join us just a few days before the ExCom. But on behalf of all of us, and George Okotopo, who I don't think is here, he's probably in some bilateral, I would like to thank civil society in particular for your very important role in supporting the I Belong campaign and in working on statelessness. Actually, I am very aware, and I hope all of you are as well, that it was civil society that encouraged us to organize a mid-campaign event here in Geneva during ExCom. So thank you for that intuition, because clearly, from what we heard this morning, this is a multiplier of attention and of resources and of commitments, which will be very useful as we embark on the second part of the campaign. And keep pushing. That's my key message to civil society. Keep pushing, because you are the most effective advocates when it comes to these complicated issues of laws and of rights, of laws, of inadequate or absent laws, and of discrimination. So you are really the people who can make things change. Think of the work that all of you in your respective countries can do in parliaments. And a lot of the work that we do, as is better than me, is really try to change the laws, or try to have new laws. And national communities, national individuals have a much bigger say than international people like me. So we'll support you, we'll back you up, but feed us with information and continue your important respective campaigns. I have read about, I have seen images of important initiatives that people reminded me in the last few days. Just to mention a couple, the 4-day march that was organized in Kenya by the Human Rights Commission. I think they're represented here, or there anyway. Here they are. And thank you for that. In Kenya, this was, I think, 2016. In fact, in Kenya, the citizenship given to the Makonde community was one of the big successes of the first part of the campaign. And then I should mention also NGOs like ADRA, our DHRA, that I think are also here. I hope so, maybe not, but they join us later. They have done, like many of you here, very important legal work in Southeast Asia, in Malaysia, in Thailand, where also we scored significant successes in terms of reducing statelessness. There are there was no time this morning to go into details, but in Central Asia, in West Africa, there are really very important strides that are occurring, and I want to recognize that. And of course, tonight we'll have a chance to honor Aziz Bek Shorov, who's here from Kyrgyzstan. He's the lawyer on the horseback by now. Everybody knows that, and we will say more tonight at the award, at the Nansen Award. I also want to recognize, not individually but collectively, that in many countries, including here in Europe, there are important networks that are shaping up, that are forming, that are establishing themselves. That is very important, to link civil societies in the different countries, share experiences, and put pressure, especially in regions like in Europe, where you have important regional political institutions. I think this also will be very important. And if I may say, it was mentioned earlier, in some countries, only two, I think, recently, Madagascar and Sierra Leone, it was evoked earlier, we have been able to change laws that limit access to citizenship according to gender issues, because of gender issues. Basically, women cannot transmit nationality to their children. We still have, as I said earlier, 25 states where these laws prevail. Let's make this one of the priorities of the next phase of the campaign. So I'm asking civil society, you're already involved, but to support us even more. And last, but certainly not least, let me say something that I said in my opening speech, and I think is very important. There are here among us now and in the XCOM this year, because of this 5 years milestone, some stateless people, or like Maha, formerly stateless people. And I think that when we talk about civil society participating, contributing, being involved, advocating, they're the best champions. You heard Maha this morning. They're the best champions. So I would really encourage all of you to reach out to those who have gone through the experience, maybe are still going on through the experience, because it is through what they can tell us, and more importantly, what they can tell to your parliaments, to your rest of civil society, to your constituency. That's the way we will move the needle in a positive direction. So thank you all. Enjoy the exhibition that was organized with the contribution of many of you here. And again, on behalf of all of us at UNHCR, thank you very, very much.
Thank you, High Commissioner, for your words and your leadership role. And we are now going to move into the next phase of the event, where we will hear from 4 speakers who can showcase some civil society work and achievement in different regions. Of course, we only have time for 4 such presentations, and we're very conscious that many stateless people, as the High Commissioner just mentioned, who are the most powerful advocates, cannot be here for obvious reasons. So I would now like to call on Amal Chickera, who is the co-director of the Institute on Statelessness and Inclusion, and very much the glue which helps hold our emerging civil society coalition together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris, for the kind words. High Commissioner, friends. In the last 5 years since UNHCR launched its I Belong campaign, there has been a growing global movement to address statelessness, with many positive actions taken by a number of actors from civil society, from the UN, and from states. However, as you heard this morning, this response to statelessness is playing out within a wider context that raises much concern and alarm. Statelessness does not happen in isolation, and it cannot be addressed in isolation. It is deeply entangled with wider global challenges, from forced displacement, as in the Syria crisis context, discrimination against minorities, as played out in Assam with the largest mass disenfranchisement of the 21st century and the genocide against the Rohingya, the rollout of digital ID, and related concerns of exclusion, privacy, and data protection, which are being tested in Kenya right now in an important case, and the increase of powers of deprivation of nationality. Unless we understand that statelessness can and must inform our responses to these wide global challenges, we will not be successful in addressing either statelessness or these other challenges. Combinations of racism, xenophobia, and patriarchy lie at the root of most intergenerational statelessness. Our response must grapple with the complexity of intersectionality, engaging minds, challenging stereotypes, and dismantling structural discrimination is a long-term project. Change will neither be fast, nor will it be easy, but we must be committed. Crucially, we must scrutinize our own roles as individuals, as institutions, and as societies in concentrating power and perpetuating exclusion. This book, Shapeless Shapes, which is available for you here today before we formally launch it later this year, breaks down some of these underlying themes in the form of pictures. So please have a look at it. Even though this challenge is immense, we have the tools at our disposal. Human rights law is comprehensive and principled. It is realistic and it's nuanced, and it does protect the right to nationality. The Sustainable Development Goals aim to leave no one behind. Our generation of world shapers have at our disposal the collective wisdom, norms, mechanisms, and tools that have been built over generations. We need to be bolder in how we use them, more committed, courageous, and collaborative. States like Colombia in granting nationality to children of Venezuelan parents, and Canada in rolling back on laws which allow for the declaration of citizenship, have taken on their obligations and have shown leadership to the rest of the world. Where they acts lead, others should follow. But what of the role of civil society, which is what I'm here to speak about today? My organization, the Institute on Statelessness and Inclusion, is about as old as the Global Campaign. In our 5 years as the only global human rights NGO dedicated to promoting the right to nationality for all, we have seen a flourishing of civil society, as evident by the number of great networks that are co-sponsoring this event. The vibrancy, collegiality, and passion that was brought by all participants to the World Conference on Statelessness we organized earlier this year just shows how strong a movement is being built. The civil society role is crucial, but it is also delicate. We do research, we provide direct assistance to stateless persons, and technical support to states. We share our expertise, build capacity, advocate for reform, and we litigate. We are your partner, your teacher, your student, your adversary, your grantee, your watchdog, your supporter, your critical friend. We are your citizen and your stateless. Speak to us today, tomorrow, and in future, and you will see that what we have to offer, you will also see what our expectations are of you. I can say, looking at my NGO colleagues, that you will not find a more committed group of people who are straining every sinew to stretch every available dollar to make the biggest possible impact. At the heart of civil society space is a dedicated group of stateless activists, people affected by statelessness themselves, whose immense courage, tireless activism, and real-life expertise gives legitimacy and direction to our work. They are human rights defenders, putting their lives at risk, trapped by their lack of citizenship, fighting for change. Ultimately, our role is to elevate them and ensure that all efforts to address statelessness are rooted in consultations with and accountability to stateless persons. That most stateless people cannot be here today is testament to how important and difficult this is, given the practical challenges. In conclusion, I would like to thank Carol and Melanie and the entire UNHCR Statelessness team for your immense contribution to the field and for your much valued partnership. And to offer our congratulations to the High Commissioner for the wonderful success that this diverse event has been. Thank you.
Thank you, Amal, for covering so much ground so quickly, but also so eloquently. Earlier this morning, I was delighted to hear the UN Deputy Secretary General Aminat Mohammed talk about man-made laws that create statelessness needing to be rebooted by women, and I can't think of any woman who has done more to try and achieve that than Catherine Harrington, who is the manager of the Global Campaign for Equal Nationality Rights. So, Catherine.
Thank you, and I promise you I'm not being humble when I say that's not true, but thank you, because there are many, many women that have been doing this work for decades. So I am standing here with them today, but thank you very much for that kind sentiment. I was especially thrilled to hear the High Commissioner's call for ending gender discrimination and nationality laws to be made a priority over the next 5 years of the I Belong campaign. And the Global Campaign for Equal Nationality Rights is certainly here and ready to work with all of you to ensure that it's a priority and that the goal is actually realized. As the High Commissioner said, today in 2019, we have 25 countries that have nationality laws that prevent women from passing their nationality to their children on an equal basis with men. There are 3 countries that prevent men from passing nationality to their children on an equal basis with women when those children are born outside of a legal marriage. There are approximately 50 countries that have some form of gender discrimination in their nationality law, with most of those relating to women's inability to pass nationality to a non-national spouse on an equal basis with men. These laws undermine women's equal citizenship and their equality within the family. They also are a root cause of statelessness, which is why UNHCR's I Belong campaign to end statelessness counts ending gender discrimination in nationality laws as action number 3. Now, historically, most nationality laws did deny women the same rights as men had, and this is unsurprising given that many nationality laws were drafted at a time when women were not considered equal citizens. They lacked voting rights, land rights, property rights, inheritance rights, rights within the family. But as societies increasingly came to appreciate that women were in fact equal citizens, over the past century, nationality laws have been changed, and today, roughly 75% of countries uphold gender equality in their nationality laws. These reforms were achieved through the tireless activism of women's rights organizations on the ground and political leadership from people within government that stood up for women's equal citizenship rights. The Global Campaign for Equal Nationality Rights is carrying on this tradition and is building on decades of activism around the world. We're doing this through our coalition of national and international organizations, UN partner agencies including UNHCR, UN Women, and UNICEF, as well as others, and independent activists. And since our founding in 2014, the same year as the I Belong campaign, we've seen important progress and increasing momentum to end gender discrimination in nationality laws, a human-made problem, once and for all. So for example, building on years of advocacy by our Madagascan National Coalition member, Focused Development Association, in 2015 we convened a conference with them as well as with UNHCR and OHCHR. It brought together government representatives, parliamentarians, representatives from relevant ministries, civil society, and affected persons. And we spent a few days looking at the many harms that are caused by gender discrimination and nationality laws. There are some publications on that table over there if you want to learn more about this, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with the cost of these laws. We also looked at what was needed to achieve reforms. And at the end of this convening, we had a group of parliamentarians and the President of the National Assembly commit to support reforms in the next parliamentary session. A year later, Madagascar came through on this commitment and enacted reforms. And today, with retroactive effect, Madagascan women and men have the equal right to pass nationality to their children. That same year, 2016, Sierra Leone took the same action. And it's important to recognize that the reform that took place in Sierra Leone came also a year after the establishment of the Abidjan Declaration on Eradication of Statelessness in West Africa. In that declaration, all ECOWAS ministers made a commitment to align their nationality laws with CEDAW as part of a broader effort to eradicate statelessness. And we're also seeing this momentum at the regional level. It was mentioned earlier in this session this morning, the Arab Declaration on Belonging and Identity, an incredibly important document. In 2017, the Global Campaign for Equal Nationality Rights co-organized the first Arab League conference on women's nationality rights. This brought together government and civil society from across the Middle East and North Africa region, a region that has a high number of countries with this form of discrimination, also the region that has enacted the most number of reforms since the turn of the century to uphold women's right to pass nationality to their children on an equal basis with men. The outcome document of this meeting, and we all know that outcome documents don't always result in action. But this document formed the basis for the Arab Declaration on Belonging and Identity, which was endorsed at an Arab League ministerial meeting in 2018. This historic declaration calls on all Arab League members to uphold equal nationality rights for women and men. This declaration demonstrates the progress that we've seen and the need for further action by governments to take action to uphold their commitment to gender equality, particularly in the area of nationality rights. These commitments have been made through ratification of CEDAW, they have been made through the establishment of the Sustainable Development Goals, they have been voiced here in the halls of the UN, and we find this commitment to gender equality in most countries' constitutions, including those that retain gender discrimination in their nationality laws. Constitutional articles that call for non-discrimination on the basis of sex and equal protection of the law for citizens. So going forward this year, we're working with our coalition members across the Middle East to support the establishment of a plan for action to implement the Arab Declaration on Belonging and Identity, and we hope that a plan of action will be endorsed by Arab League members. This call for reform is persisting across countries where this discrimination still exists, including in Malaysia, where I want to draw particular attention because right now there's increasing calls for constitutional reforms to uphold equal citizenship rights for women and men in line with the Constitution's mandate for non-discrimination on the basis of sex. We're especially heartened by, just in the past month, many voices of support for this reform effort coming from political leaders and political parties, and we're hopeful that this reform will take place in the near future. So in closing, I would just like to say that we, the Global Campaign for Equal Nationality Rights, and our civil society partners, we commit to working with you, working with governments, working with UN agencies, working with other civil society groups and sectors to realize a world where all countries uphold nationality laws that reflect equal rights for women and men, recognizing them as equal citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine, and you both certainly justified your billing, but also conveyed the depth of the work done by women activists over the last few decades. Do stick with us, everyone. We have two more great presentations and then a guest appearance from Azizbek. I want to now invite Khalid Hussein, who is the Executive Director of the Council of Minority and formerly stateless himself, and has dedicated his professional life to addressing the issue in his country. Khalid.
Thank you, everybody. I born at this Statelessness in Geneva camp. It's called Geneva camp. Why the Urdu-speaking Biharis are formerly stateless? The reason behind this, in 16 December 1971, when Pakistan has been broken and Bangladesh has emerged, then the Bihari community, those who speak the Urdu, they were become stateless. And then International Community for Red Cross, ICRC, they built the refugee camps all over in Bangladesh. Now we have 116 camps. It's around 48 years the Urdu-speaking community is still living in the camps, refugee-like situations. It was very hard for us. When I born in the camp and I started my life going to the school in the camp school, that was okay. But when we completed the primary education, then I need to go outside to study the Bangla language. Then I faced so many discrimination with the school, with the teachers, and all the children. Those are from the Bengali community. They treat it as a war criminal families, and we are not a part of Bangladesh. We are stranded Pakistani. Somehow we have to go back to Pakistan. But I born in the territory of Bangladesh. So it was really pain when we realized which country we belong, who we are, where from we are. If you are stranded Pakistani or Pakistani, then somehow we have to go back to Pakistan. When we just talk to the Pakistani authority, they say, no, there is no any provision or something or any laws to claim yourself as a Pakistani citizen. Then in 2001, including me and my other friends, we filed a petition in High Court, and we claim ourselves as a citizen of Bangladesh. We born in Geneva camp, and it is in the territory of Bangladesh, but our name is missing in the voter list. We didn't say we want a citizenship. We say we are citizen, but our name is missing in the voter list. Just after 1 year, in 2003, the High Court said these 10 petitioners, they are by born Bangladeshi citizen, and their name should be included in the voter list. That was the first ice-breaking for nationally internationally that Urdu-speaking people living in 116 camps, they are Bangladeshi citizens. But that time we make it a silly mistake and we claim ourselves just for the 10 people. We want to include our name in the voter list. According to the court judgment, court instructed the election commission include their name just 10 people, not for all the community people, those are in 116 camps. Then in 2008, the other community people from the other camps, they filed a fresh petition in High Court and they claim we, Urdu-speaking community living in 116 camps, we all are Bangladeshi citizens and we want to include our name in the voter list and we want national identity card. And the same year in 2008, 5th May 2008, the High Court has declared this Urdu-speaking community, those are living in 116 camps, they are Bangladeshi citizens and they are voters. And the first time the court said they are Urdu-speaking Bangladeshi. But before we had so many nomenclature like standard Pakistanis, non-Bengalis, refugees, stateless. But in 2008, the court said they are Urdu-speaking Bangladeshi. When we got our citizenship and all those things, then we realized we need the civil documentation, which is very important. Before 2008, the camp dwellers are going to get the birth certificate through the brokers, and we have to pay a lot of money. Then we talked with Nationality in 2013. We started a community-based paralegal program in 5 cities. We started with 10 paralegals. We have now 15 paralegals, and the paralegals are doing the outreach in the camps, and they are disseminating the message of 2008 court judgment, and they are learning about the leaderships and the Citizenship Act, and they are providing the civil documentation issues. Like within these 5 years of the program, our paralegals are assisted to the camp dwellers to achieve 10,000 plus birth certificates, 300 passports, and some other civil documentation. But still, we are facing discrimination to get the passport. When the camp dwellers are applying for the passport, the authority say you are Bihari, you are living inside the camp, you don't have any electricity bill, you don't have any property bill, so you are not eligible to get passport. And they say the Rohingyas and the Biharis are not able to passport. But we say we have national ID card, we are Bangladeshi citizen, we are not Rohingya. But still we are facing some problem to get the passport. And at the end, in 2016, the Bangladesh cabinet, they have approved a citizenship draft bill, which is really concerned for us and some other people. If this bill will be enacted from the parliament, then again the Bihari and some other community will be stateless. Because the provision, there is so many provisions that they allow to revoke our citizenship. So we have started working on the advocacy on the draft citizenship bill, and how within this year we will be able to request the government to review the bill before enacting in the parliament. Thank you.
Thank you, Khalid. And now we have Liesl Muller, Lawyers for Human Rights in South Africa. For those of you who don't know Liesl, she's one of those rock star lawyers who not only is a hugely committed activist, but also is able to marshal the sort of precise legal arguments to win cases. So thank you, Liesl.
I am sad though that I don't have a horse, and I will be working on that in the next year. I have the privilege to represent the Southern African Nationality Network here today, but also the Africa-wide network on the right to a nationality. So can I just see who here is from Africa, working in Africa? Hands? Nobody? There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I know you guys. So this today, friends, is our pep talk. Okay, firstly, it's for you and then for me, for going forward for the next 5 years. What we've done in the last 5 years is something that I want to celebrate together with you. And like some of my friends have said, that it's been the close collaboration and the friendships that have made it happen, and I'm very grateful for that. Our stall is just over there, and you're welcome to read some of our clients' stories. We focus mostly on direct legal assistance and litigation to change the law. Then I want to say that I'm not intimidated by the huge burden of the issue of statelessness in Africa. I'm in fact very excited. The more I think about Africa and statelessness, the more I'm convinced that it is the right time and the right place for us to deal with statelessness, and I'm very excited about that. Africa has, of course, a long history of colonialism, apartheid. We've been through a lot, But we've not lost sight of the fact that African communities are inherently inclusive. And this is something that Julius used to say, that African people are, in their culture and in our values, we are inherently inclusive and empowering towards each other. And you can see that in different African concepts, such as in my country, Ubuntu, which is basically the concept that your community and the well-being of your community is also your own community, right? It's also your own well-being. So basically, it's an African value that there are no others. There is no othering because our community is us. And so that's one of the first things that inspires me about Africa being the place and now being the time for us to do this. So it is a very exciting time right now for nationality rights in Africa, not just for us, but for all of you. And the reason for that is because we currently have a draft protocol on specific aspects to the right to nationality and the eradication of statelessness in Africa. And this is an African Union-led project, and once it is passed, and if you read the draft text, which you can find online, you will see that it is it is an incredible piece of international law, for those of you who are aware. It expands the limits of what we've understood nationality law to be in the past. It extends the nexus of who gets to be a citizen in a country to concepts that are suited to Africa. For instance, we have different concepts of family relations. We have something called kafala, which is a form of adoption that is not recognized by international nationality law. So this protocol is incredibly revolutionary, and I want you to watch this space and also read it if you want to be inspired. And I'm very inspired that Africa is the continent that is leading on this initiative. And I think that it will change the way that we think about nationality and the right to have access to it in the place where we live and actually belong. Because in Africa, of course, because of colonialism and apartheid, we've been forcibly displaced. And so this protocol also takes into account the fact that people have been displaced, the past. And so it takes into account something like long residence, whether it's legal or not. And this is something really incredibly revolutionary that I want to celebrate. The other thing that it recognizes is the fact that African tribes often have nomadic lifestyles. And so this is something that we haven't seen in other instruments. If you are a nomadic tribe, maybe we'll look at the link you have with the place where you water your cattle once a year. It's brilliant, you'll love it, you have to look at it. So we recognize, I think, as a continent, that nationality is crucial to the development of African countries and of the individual African, and that we cannot escape from our colonial and apartheid past without focusing specifically on belonging and identity in Africa. There's no way for us to move forward unless we do that. And I think that the African Union and different African countries are there, they recognize that. So in the next 5 years, I want to pledge on behalf of those human rights, our continent-wide networks, that we will work with governments. We're excited about what you're doing, we're excited about what UNHCR is doing and what our sister organizations are doing. We pledge to do everything we can, which means I can't retire within the next 5 years, I've now said it. But we want to say that we want to work together with all of you. And often in civil society you're seen as an opponent sometimes, and I don't want that to be the case. I think that we can do good work together. So I want you to take heart, and then I want to end just with a quote from Kwame Nkrumah, who was the first president of Ghana, and he said that independence in Africa is only the prelude to a new and more involved struggle for the right to conduct our own economic and social affairs and to construct our society according to our aspirations. And I feel like that is what we as Africans must now take forward, that this is the struggle. Independence has come and gone, and we have to now do that new struggle. This is the work. So I want to encourage us to do that work, because that is the thing that will restore dignity to Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, Liesl, for such inspiring words. And I think those of us working in other regions are secretly a little bit envious of the progress we're able to make in Africa. It's incredible. We do now have one sort of surprise speaker who's going to, obviously as is Beck, who you've heard about, and will have his Nansen Award ceremony tonight. So tonight is just a taster for that. But for those of us who've known as Beck for many years, he's such a wonderful and modest person that he brings a smile to your face anyway. So when we heard that he'd won the Nansen Award, we were smiling even more. And the fact that he has sort of managed to, in the Kyrgyz Republic, pretty much solve statelessness single-handed while riding on horseback is incredible. So,
Thank you, Chris. So, firstly, I apologize for English, but still try to find the right words and explain you how I'm really proud to stay here and that I can share this award. Of course, the award of this civil society which I belong and which I feel I'm a part of. So, and this award for all people who divided themselves on ending statelessness. So that fact, within the 65 years history of Nansen Award, it's the first time this award focused related to the theme of statelessness. It's very significant. It's symbolic that the voices of stateless people was heard. And this high-level segment, which nowadays passing, is also noticing that this issue on the top of agenda. So it's really exciting. So in the same time, I'm really I just want to express the hope that our experience of my country, which I belong, Kyrgyzstan, can be a shining example to others that ending statelessness in our territories from other countries, it's possible. It will be double win for us. And finally I want to say that only using joint efforts, civil society, governments, and international community as UNHCR, we can together reach this goal and statelessness worldwide. Thank you.
thank you, Aziz Beck, and we'll be cheering you on tonight as well.